I go to one of the top universities in the world here in the UK and I eat the same meal every single day. And in this video, I'm going to be showing you exactly why you should do this, how it's amazing for your productivity and fitness gains, and also how you implement this into your day-to-day routine. But before that, who am I? My name is Shamir. I go to one of the top universities in the world here in the UK, and I went through a massive transformation around 2 years ago where I went from being fat, pretty stupid, and not having a consistent work routine to now getting one of the best grades in GCSEs, in A levels, and getting into one of the top universities in the world in a span of like 2 years. And I also got jacked and lost all of the fat. But if you want to achieve a similar transformation in both your productivity and fitness goals, click on the subscribe button down below. So about a year ago, I was doing my A-level exams in the UK, which are basically like the final year of when you're 18, and these are like the hardest exams, and I was doing the hardest subjects in those exams. And therefore, I wasn't really free. I didn't really have free time during this time. But also, I didn't want to eat very unhealthy. I was also like starting to go to the gym consistently at the time. And everyone online and every person that I'd spoken to who was pretty consistent in the gym told me that I had to have a high protein diet, cut out the junk food, high carb diet in order to grow muscle. So with that in mind, I not only wanted to be productive and get good grades in my exams, I also wanted to have fitness in the back of my mind as well. However, there was a problem. Every single time I would go downstairs and cook food. So basically, I live in like an Indian household, so there isn't like that much protein in our like standard diet. So my parents, my like siblings, they don't really eat that much protein in their food. And I told my parents that, is it okay if I cook my own food, because I'm pretty obsessive with the gym? And they were like, yeah, that's fine. However, when I started doing that, when I started going downstairs and like cooking the eggs or the chicken breast and everything, one meal would take around 1.5 hours, maybe even 2 hours to cook and eat, like all in all. Like this includes going downstairs, getting out the pans, making the food, eating the food, cleaning up after. Like I'm not gonna leave it there, you know, like I had to clean up after. So that was like 1.5 hours to 2 hours every single meal just spent on just preparing and eating food. That added up throughout the day because I would have 3 to 4 meals a day. So that's literally 6 to 8 hours gone like that, doing something I didn't really even consider. I know a lot of people like cooking food, and if that's you, fair enough. But me personally, I really don't care about like food or like preparing the food. Like I like eating food sometimes, but preparing and cooking the food isn't something I would describe as an interest. So that was just dead weight time that I would just lose every single day. And looking back at it, I had a very warped view of productivity at the time as well. So I thought I had to be revising the entire day, which isn't true. The most productive people in the world, the best success you can get is by having a short period of predictable deep work hours. And I personally in this channel promote doing this in the morning. If you want to like develop a deep work routine, I have a link in the bio, and this is like a cohort community. I'll tell you more about it in the bio. However, I had a very warped view of productivity at the time. I had like the normal view, which is I had to be revising the entire day. So that was literally taking away time from my revision. So I was left feeling kind of sad and demotivated about how I felt like I had to choose between eating unhealthy food and not making progress in the gym but saving time, or eating healthy food but that takes away from my academic success and that makes me less productive. If you relate to any of this, the solution to this is meal prep. And in this video, I'm going to be walking you through exactly how you meal prep and why I think every single young person, especially if they're goal motivated, especially if you're watching this channel, you have very high goals in your academics or whatever intellectual work you're considering, you should be meal prepping. You shouldn't be wasting time preparing food. So what is meal prep? Meal prep is basically when you dedicate one day out of the entire week to making a bunch of meals that are the perfect macronutrients, so like the perfect amount of protein, the perfect amount of carbs, but you do that for every single day. So you literally eat the same lunch every day, the same dinner every day, and the same breakfast every day. This is very common amongst bodybuilders. So bodybuilders will have a meal prep every single day. They would eat chicken and rice for lunch, and they'd eat like a burrito for dinner, and they'd eat something for like overnight oats for breakfast. They do this for the macronutrients, so they do this to like calculate the exact amount of protein they need for their diet. But we can use this when we're striving towards our academics or productivity goals as well, because it also helps with time management. Why should you meal prep? The first reason you should meal prep is because it is much cheaper than just like buying normal food. I go to university now, so I moved in, and the cost of living in London is insanely high. So it saves me so much money to just go home. I go home like every other week, or I just cook here. And it saves me so much money just buying like 3 kg of chicken breast and then allocating that for every single day than just going out and eating out, or even just like eating in restaurants or whatever people do, even buying on the day. In my opinion, preparing stuff in bulk and then allocating it throughout the day is much cheaper than the alternative, if money is an issue. Even if money isn't an issue, I think you should have a regimented diet every single day, because it is much more time efficient. And that leads me on to the second like real reason. You're saving so much time every single day. You're saving literally 4 to 6 hours as soon as you start meal prepping, because literally if you have your meal, you can just go warm it, eat the meal, and then you're done. You don't even have to, like, I put it in boxes so I can just chuck the box. I don't have to, there is no setup time, there's no cleaning time. I don't have to clean after myself. I mean, I do clean after myself, but like, I can just chuck the box after I'm done. There is no real time wasted in cooking this food. And therefore, if you allocate this time, like, think about this, right? If you allocate the extra 2 to 3 hours you save per day into something productive, it doesn't have to be academics, it doesn't even have to be something like intellectual. If you literally spend the 2 to 3 hours doing something you like, such as talking to your family, talking to your friends, you're gonna value that time so much more than if you just spent that time cooking. If your passion is cooking, if you really like cooking for the meals, then fair enough, then you can spend the time cooking. But I'm assuming that people watching this channel don't have a cooking passion, or don't like really obsess over cooking. Maybe you do, I don't know. But in my opinion, the time I spent cooking was time wasted. The third reason you should meal prep is because it calculates your exact macros. So I started going to the gym pretty consistently and pretty seriously over the last 3 months, and there is always this headache and the struggle of hitting your exact macronutrients. So your macronutrients are like the protein you need to build muscle, the carbohydrates, and your fats. If you have the same meal every single day, or like not the same meal, but the same meal for lunch, the same meal for dinner, the same meal for breakfast, you know exactly how much protein and carbs and fat you're intaking per day. Like, I can tell you exactly the amount of protein I have per day. It's 153 grams of protein per day, and I know that because I have meal prepped every single day, which saves me this headache of trying to calculate my exact macros. If I hit underneath my calories, I don't have to like worry about that. I don't have to worry about not hitting my protein goal. So all of this is just gone. All of this fluff is just gone if you just meal prep every day. The fourth reason I think you should meal prep is because it limits decision fatigue. So this is like an advanced productivity tactic I really think you should be aware of. Decision fatigue basically means that whenever you wake up in the morning, you're given a certain amount of brain fuel. Imagine the amount of fuel required to power your brain. Every time you do a decision, every time you make a decision, and every time you do any type of intellectual work, that brain fuel is drained. So for example, if you wake up in the morning and the first thing you do is you do some work, which is what I promote, that takes away brain fuel. Or if you wake up and then you go to school, that takes away maybe 50 points of your brain fuel. Every time you make a decision as well, an increment of that brain fuel goes down. So I think the entrepreneur Sam Ovens calls this concept death by 1,000 cuts. If you have a significant amount of brain fuel in the morning, and like each and every decision drains that brain fuel slightly, when you want to do your work, when you actually want to use that for something intellectual, you may be left with none of it if you make too many decisions. So that's why getting up in the morning and then scrolling is a bad idea, because it takes away some of that brain fuel. That's also why there are some times where you come back from university or you come back from work, or I try and do some university work after it, and I just feel physically incapable of actually doing the work. That's because your brain fuel has just lowered, and the amount you need to do that task is higher than the amount you have. So just to conclude this one point, when you meal prep, you're not deciding on what you have to eat. So like deciding food is actually a big thing. At least for me, if you're going to the gym consistently, it should be a big thing for you, because you're trying to find the correct macronutrients. You need the correct amount of protein. So you're gonna be thinking and making decisions based on this. And just out of decision fatigue, and just by meal prepping and knowing that beforehand, it limits that decision fatigue. So that means you have more brain fuel left to use that on something more productive later on in the day. If you look at like top entrepreneurs, so like Mark Zuckerberg, Elon Musk, they always have like the same clothing they wear, and that's to limit decision fatigue. The reason why they have a very regimented clothing structure, meal structure, is to use that energy, the brain energy, the brain fuel, on something more productive. So if you want to emulate the top entrepreneurs, this is a very advanced tactic. You can also, this is also another reason to meal prep. Before I get on to like the meals you should make and like the step-by-step way you should do it, I want to go over some objections that you probably have about meal prepping every day. The first one is, wouldn't this be boring eating the same meal every day? The answer to that is, yeah, kinda, but there are two reasons why you shouldn't view it as that. The first one is, from now on, if you're trying to make progress in the gym or just in life in general, you shouldn't eat for fun or dopamine. You should eat for nutrition. So like, you shouldn't eat for the taste in your mouth. You should eat for the macronutrients. And that's like the shift I want to go through, and I think you should go through as well. You don't want to try and like maximize the fun when you're eating the food, because then you just eat the unhealthy junk food. Instead, if you maximize nutrition, you also have the added benefit of the taste of the food as well. So for example, if you have two choices between a protein shake and a milkshake, if you maximize fun, you'll choose the milkshake because it tastes slightly better. However, if you maximize for nutrition, you'll choose the protein shake, but also the taste of the food is still good. But in this situation, the first person will gain more fat and the second person will gain more muscle, because they just optimized for nutrition. And this is what we should be optimizing for going forward. We don't really care about the fun, we care about the nutrition it gives us. But also, the way I meal prep is I meal prep 2 meals a day, and that leaves me about 600 calories, 500 calories to eat whatever I want in. So I'll eat my perfect macros, I'll hit my protein target, my carbs target, my fat target per day, and that gives me like a few hundred calories so I can eat a sweet here and there. So that makes this less boring. So in my example, I'm still getting the fun, I'm still eating the cake, I'm still eating the carrot cake, the sweeties, but I'm also getting the macronutrients I need to build muscle. But if you don't have meal prep and you do it yourself, you may not be getting the correct macronutrients, but you may be having slightly more fun. But then in the long term, I'm gonna make more gains if I follow this, just because like exponentially, if I hit the correct macros, I'll make more muscle, right? So like, yeah, sure, it could be slightly boring, but yeah, like it is gonna be kind of boring, but I think it's not crazy regimented to follow this, and also it's a worthwhile sacrifice when you're sacrificing for your academic or productivity success and also your gym gains as well. The second objection that I've heard people say about this is kind of weird. Like if you're living with your parents right now, or maybe you're living in university or like a flat or whatever, people will comment on like you bringing in 14 meals into your fridge. And I moved into this accommodation, so I'm in university accommodation right now, and I moved in and I had 12 meals pre-prepared in my fridge, and like people around me were like, who's this guy, why is he bringing in so much food? And yeah, it is kind of like, the social aspect is a bit weird. You do seem a bit weird like bringing in like 12 meals and eating that every day. But if you carve out your identity as someone who's grinding, who's working hard on their productivity and fitness, it's gonna seem so much more respectable rather than like, who's this weird guy? I mean, like if someone asked me why I have so much food, I just said I'm locked into the gym, and like they're like, oh damn, like respect. Like not many people have the same level of like discipline to the gym. So in my opinion, yeah, sure, it was weird at first, but then when people realized that I was actually doing it for the gym, for productivity and stuff, they were like, oh yeah, fair enough. So this may be different for you. Yeah, you could have some aspect of like social judgment for preparing so much food per day. Maybe your parents are a bit against it, but in the long run, like opportunity cost, right? The gain you're gonna get, the amount of results you'll get, both productivity and fitness wise, is so much higher than the criticism you may get from your parents or friends around you. So in my opinion, yeah, like it is a bit weird. It is like uncommon, but you just have to take the L. If you want the results, you kind of have to act a bit uncommon. So you just have to take the L. In my opinion, just carve out your identity as someone who's locked in and grinding, and that saves you from the social judgment of having so much food and preparing so much food per week. So hopefully now you know exactly why you should meal prep, and hopefully I've convinced you if you're a young person and you have similar goals to me. Now I'm going to be going over exactly step by step how you meal prep with no cooking experience. I have zero cooking experience from the past. This is how you do it. You go to ChatGPT, so that you know what ChatGPT is, or your preferred AI website, and type up meal prep recipes for bodybuilding. I'm assuming that you could be doing other sports as well. I promote going to the gym and like hypertrophy, so I'm going to be optimizing this meal prep plan for that. If you're doing something like swimming, if you're doing another type of exercise, this could be different. But in my opinion, just follow my advice, because I've gone through these questions before. So you go to ChatGPT and you search up meal prep recipes, and basically you filter through them until you find a suggestion that you like. So I found the chicken and rice very, very appealing, and the frozen like chicken wrap quite appealing as well from ChatGPT. And I'm going to be walking you through exactly how you do that. You could like there was stuff like pasta, there was lasagna that you could meal prep. If you think you like that food, go ahead and do that. I picked the one that I think I could eat consistently, so I'm going to be walking you through those two meals. However, I will probably change this up in the future. So the way you change it up is you just make a different recipe on like one of the days that you pick to cook this food. The time taken to cook all of this is about 2 hours. So 2 to 3 hours to cook both the frozen burritos and the chicken and rice together. Yeah, so you're spending 2 to 3 hours per week, and in return you're saving so much time. So the first recipe is chicken and rice. What you need is 1.8 kg of chicken, 75 grams of hot sauce, 1.8 kg of rice, 100 vegetables, 6 cheese slices, and then spices such as paprika, salt, pepper, and yogurt. The way you prepare this is you get your chicken. You go to the shop and then get your chicken breast, and you wash your chicken breast, cut it up. I specifically dice the chicken, or I cut slits through the chicken breast, because the chicken cooks better if you put the spice in there. I don't really marinate the chicken. I just put like the hot sauce on the chicken. I put on the spices and I mix that with the yogurt, and then I put that in the air fryer. So I put the chicken in the air fryer, and then I cook the rice in a rice cooker. So I cook my basmati rice with some salt in the rice cooker, and it's a very simple meal. You just combine them two, and then I put a cheese slice on top of the chicken and rice, and then I put some vegetables, and then I put some more hot sauce in the chicken and rice. This does seem like a kind of a boring meal. However, I've always liked chicken and rice. I don't understand why people get tired of chicken and rice, because I could eat this like all day, every day. So that's the first meal. I think that's 1,000 calories, and you have about 80 grams of protein in that one meal. So the first one is chicken and rice. The second recipe is like chicken wraps. And the way you prepare that is you get your chicken breast, do the same thing, marinate it with the hot sauce, put like slices through it, or you could just dice your chicken. You put that in the air fryer for about half an hour. You heat up your tortilla wraps, and then I put 2 cheese slices per tortilla wrap, put in some mayonnaise, put in some ketchup, I put in some salad and some jalapenos, and I put in 150 grams to 200 grams of chicken per tortilla wrap, and I make that. Once I have 6 tortilla wraps and 6 chicken and rices, then I just freeze them. So I just stick them in the freezer in the university accommodation, and then before the next day, when I'm planning out the next day, I just take 1 chicken and rice out and 1 chicken wrap out, so it's edible the next day. After I do all this, I'm still left with about 300 to 400 calories, so I just eat literally whatever I want throughout the day, and that hits my perfect macros every single day consistently. You don't have to follow this cooking recipe. I know I am a bad cook, so this may not be appetizing to you, but it works for me. All I want you to take away from this video is that I personally think the meal prepping is very, very important for young people who have big goals. So if you have a big academic goal or whatever intellectual goal you have, whatever fitness goal you have, I personally think the meal prepping is the way to go, because you save so much time cooking, you save so much time cleaning up, that you can invest into something more productive. And yeah, fair enough, it may not taste as much, But like, you shouldn't be eating for fun anyway. You should be eating for nutrition. So that this will also help you develop that skill in the future of eating for nutrition rather than fun. Hopefully you've learned a lot from this video, and now you know exactly how you can meal prep every single day and exactly why you should meal prep if you have productivity and fitness goals. If you want to see more videos on this channel, click on this video over here and click on the subscribe button down below if you want to see more videos on productivity and fitness from a university student from the UK. I'll see you in the next one. Click on the share button to someone who doesn't know how to meal prep, and bye bye.